All right, this is going to be our introduction to InDesign. And obviously you can see I have a few more projects than you do, but this is what my screen looks like when it opens, but if we create new, mine looks a little bit different than yours, but you get this side. And if you've changed your preferences, it should come up as inches. You want to make sure that you have portrait selected. Good. You want to make sure you have portrait selected for this first project. And you can leave everything else alone. All right. In order to get this set up correctly, we want to go to Layout and we want to create guides. And we have rows and columns, so I wanted 3 rows, and notice that they snap in, and I want 2 columns, and then I'll go OK. And this gives me 6 equal-sized blocks. Now, we said under Layers that this is going to bring out our first layer. I double-clicked on that, and then I'm going to call this Background. And this is where I added my box for the background. Now let's see if, all right, your toolbar should look more like this, the two rows, double row. And so what I did was I went for the rectangle tool, and then we want the fill. That says stroke. I don't want that, so I'm going to click here, and it flips it, and that now says, ooh, so I want fill. And let's see if, yeah, it will say fill. So anytime you're not sure, run your cursor in and you should get something that tells you what the icon is for. I'm going to double click on the fill box and I get a color picker. And I can run this up and it changes the colors on the inside, and then you can sort of decide by looking up here, this is going to be the color that gets filled in. And let's see if I can get the nice teal that I had. Oh, I'm not doing real well, so I'll just choose that. What the heck. And then notice that my cursor is effectively a set of crosshairs. That's going to tell you that the tool has been selected. I'm going to go up into the corner and drag down, and now I have my box as the background. Now I went back and got the selection tool, and with the selection tool, if I click on this, the little arrow or the little boxes show up indicating that it is selected. Here, where I have a number that is a percentage, that is going to be the opacity, and if I back it off a bit, it becomes effectively a lighter color. And once I get whatever it is I want as far as color and opacity, I'll click off of that. And now I'm going to click and lock that layer so that it cannot be drawn on. And then here, I'm going to click and select New Layer, and I'm going to call this Picture. Notice that the picture is going to, whatever I put in there is somehow going to have red associated with it. And because the pen is selected here in the picture layer, that's what I'll be working with. All right, and I want to put in a rectangular frame. Now, if you remember in class, I clicked on the rectangle and showed you there were other shapes. Well, just the same way there are other shapes for your frames. If you want to, you can explore that. I'm pretty dull about this and just go with rectangles. And again, I've got the crosshairs, and I'm going to click and drag and pretty much just eyeball that and say, okay, that's fine. That gives me a space to put my picture in. That's a frame into which my picture will go. So I'm going to go back and get the selection tool again. That way I don't have to end up saying no, cancel all the time. And if I go to File and come down to Place, and eventually, all right, you can tell I've played with this a bit. I have a folder where all of my stuff is being kept, and I'm going to choose this JPEG of myself, and I'm going to open it, and it drops it right in there. And now we go to Object, Fitting, and I'm going to do Fit Content Proportionally. Boom. And there it fits the content proportionally, and I'm going to leave that. Now, if I didn't like this, if I wanted to, I can change this size. Now, the other thing you can do is if you grab in the middle, you can end up moving the picture around and not have it necessarily inside the frame. I don't really understand why one would do that, but that's okay. So if you're in here with the hand, then you can move the picture. Whoops. And if you're outside, then you just move the whole frame. So I'm going to put it back. All right, so that's about right. It's not, if we make that there, I can mess with that. Remember that if I hold down, in your case, the Control key and hit plus, you can zoom in, and then you can see how well did this actually fit. And you'll notice that this is a little bit outside, so if you want to drag it over, you'll see that, and then drag it, and then it's pretty much right on. And if you get excited, you can decide, okay, that's fine. There. And we'll bring that back. All right, so that was the picture in the picture layer, and you'll notice that you have the picture inside the picture layer. And I can now click here and lock that, and then I can't do anything here. I'm going to get another frame. Oops, no, I'm not. Let's do this correctly. I'm going to get another layer, and I'm going to call this SVGS. This will be where I put my GovSchool schedule. So it's now on top. Now I'm going to get the layer, and I'm going to add that frame into my layer. And click the selection tool. Now, I believe if we click that and have it selected, we'll find out in a second. I'm going to go place, so I went File, Place, and I'm now going to get information from the spreadsheet. So I have the My Info spreadsheet. This option shows up on the screen when you have chosen the Place menu. All right, so I've chosen what I want to place, and I do Open. And now I remember that this is A1 to A5. And so this is going to be from the sheet. It will be section A1 to A5. And that's all I have to do. Now, notice that popped right in. I can make this fit this a little bit better that way. Now, if I drag too far, notice the last entry went away and I get this red plus sign. If you see that, that means that all of your content is not showing. And so you sort of ease this down and you go, there it is. Now I have all of my content. Now I can, having selected the entire item, I get all of it and I can then drag down. Now see the green line, I hope? That says it's going to be centered along with the picture. And all right, that's good enough. Now, this centering you're going to have to worry about some other way. I'm not going to worry all that much at this point. It looks pretty good. If you are one of those that wants it to look better, once you selected it, use the arrow key to bump it one way or the other. But because I got the green line this way, I'm going to decide that's probably up and down squared. All right, now I'm going to add a new layer. Whoops, I'm going to lock that. Excuse me. I'm going to lock that and then add a new layer. And I'm going to call this Homeschool. And it will be above. I'm going to get another frame. And I will put it here. And I'm going to click the selection tool. Now I'm going to click off this. This time this is not selected. So I'm going to place. I'm going to check my options. It's as long as you're keeping in the same items, or excuse me, as long as you're in the same project, it'll keep these same options. So I'm going to click on My Info again. I'm going to open it. And this time I want B1 to B5, and that should be my homeschool. And I'm going to click. Now notice this time I get the information, and it's going to go in when I'm going to bring the arrow up, and I'm going to click, and it drops it in. Now, Object, Fit. And notice that you can't fit anything at this point. Fitting does not work. So at this point, I'm going to bring that up and that over. And then again, notice the green arrow gives me an up and, or gives me a left right centered along with the picture. And it's probably a little far up, so I'll bring it down. Okay, so that should, saving this, locking it and save. All right, so that gives you the basic idea. We put the picture in, we put in 2 of the class schedules. You should then put in your after-school activities and your fun facts about you. All right, and that should give you a pretty good idea of how to do this project.